Hello, hello. I'm just trying not to block out this beautiful light, but it's quite a bright one. So let me see. Let me see if we can manage to just maneuver without blocking out the light. Let's hope so. So I am coming on here for the first time. I've been paying for YouTube for quite a few years now. Let me just pull that a tiny bit to wonderful. And like probably a lot of light workers, spiritual people and people who are having this mass awakening at this moment in time on a huge level, we have been invisible a little bit. We have been shining our light, but within small communities and groups. And I felt it was time to stop doing that. I've been told, so I do as I'm told eventually. I might meet some resistance and kick up a fuss for quite a while, but I've succumbed. So the reason for me doing this, and I really want to make this very clear, I am in service to humanity. I am a light worker who's been on the journey for over all my life. I think it's easier to just say that. I was born an empath. I was helping people from an early age, not knowing what I was doing, but certainly taking away their physical ailments, their pain, their suffering, and transmuting it through my body, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody, but it was what I was doing before I became a little bit more aware of what I was doing. We all have to start somewhere, right? And so that made me a really great person to be around, especially if you had a lot of stuff to release and let go of. So I used to release and let go of like I say, people's pain, trapped emotions, trauma even, and I would attract the people that needed me the most. Therefore, as you can imagine, the people who were not so much on the pathway, maybe making out that they were, but very much in the dark or just in need, in desperation. I'm not here to judge, I'm not here to lay blame or in any way, shape or form. I've moved through that. That would be me 10 years ago in victim mode. I'm not in that space anymore. So everything that's ever happened to me, as all others who are on this pathway, has been for my highest and greatest good, and I see the lessons in all of it. But I'm here today again to shine a light on something that's really important to me, and that is working with people for their highest and greatest good, on supporting them becoming the best version of themselves. Now, this is a lifelong journey for me, and it's been a passion to work with so many people through the Reiki journey, through Holy Fire Reiki, through Karuna Reiki, and now I've expanded that as my awareness has expanded into self-mastery. So a little bit of background on that transition is I started my Reiki journey, I call it BC, before Cadence, my daughter. So she's 18 now. So BC, I started this journey, but I quickly put it on pause in the energetic field because I wasn't fully ready, let's say, or fully sold. Let's be honest, sold at that time. And I found Reflexology. And I loved Reflexology, absolutely loved it, and still do. And it was a journey that supported me through stress, through burnout, through a breakup, a really serious marriage breakup, and becoming a manager of a corporation really fast with a lot of responsibility with not the right skills. You know, back in the day where, you know, you say, yeah, I'll be a manager in retail, that's a great idea. And actually it was, but it taught me so much, and I went on and did the qualifications and learnt the skills and did the HNC and graduated and all of the things in business and management, because that's what I thought I should do, right? That's what we all think in our 20s. And this was, you know, coinciding with a marriage breakup. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. Anyway, as turned out, as always does, when I graduated and walked down the hill as we do with our lantern and go to the church, and it was the lovely Patrick Stewart who was giving out our awards back in the day, because it was linked to University of Huddersfield. I was about to get pregnant, so it was all a little bit up in the air. I was a manager in a job that I didn't love. I was training to be a holistic therapist because I decided, because I loved reflexology so much, and it saved me on my journey, it saved my life basically, because I had so much stored emotion, so much stored energy in my body, probably because I was processing for other people as well, which I didn't realise at the time, but I do now, that I was like out. My body was completely full of toxins, absolutely chock-a full of toxins, and whenever she touched my feet I was just crying in pain. It was so tense, and we worked, you know, at least 20 sessions with that, and I decided to train as a reflexologist at that time. So I'd already had my Reiki training back in 2003, trained as a reflexologist 2004, did Indian head massage as well because it was a nice little combination that they were offering at college, and fell pregnant. So I was rather pregnant when I was completing my Indian head massage, which was nice. Actually, being pregnant and having your treatment like that was lovely. So this was a big turning point for me. Unfortunately, due to situations at the time, I was building up my portfolio to work in holistics, and I had to go back to work in the mobile phone industry, which wasn't really what I wanted to do. But circumstances worked out that actually in some ways that was just the way it was, and I accept that now. I also trained to be a childminder because I ended up being a single mum. So I trained to be a childminder so I could support my daughter in her journey in the school system, and be there for her and do what I needed to do as much as I could, but still earn some money, still have an income. So this was all, you know, mapped out the way it had to be at that time. So I decided to go the full hog though, as we do, and do a full degree. And that was such a journey because I could bring in, because children, obviously, this is where it all starts, right? This 0 to 7 business, if anybody knows, this is where the programs are, this is where the limiting beliefs come in, this is where all of the things can be, the subconscious mind is basically wide open. So all of the things can be programmed in at this time. So having that real deep knowledge of child psychology was, again, like just another thing that added to the package of what I was working with, and understanding a little bit of this emotional container. Like I would have thought that I'd have got that in a holistic training. Actually, it was Winnicott's theory of being the emotional container, and I realized that's what I was doing. I was an emotional container for everybody else. And so they'd come into my energy field and I would harmonise them. And especially my own daughter at that time, she had a reflux, which was really quite a struggle. As a mum, if anyone's kids have reflux, you know, hearts out to you. It is the hardest thing. You know, there was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of discomfort, and I didn't know enough at the time. I was doing what I could, but yeah, again, it's always later in life, isn't it, that you understand and learn. So that was the journey then. And I really loved that psychology side. And when I did my dissertation, I did it about holistic well-being with children, which again brought all this in to like one big package really of learning, deep level learning about how we grow as humans, how we evolve, and how society fits in and shapes us in that really delicate age. My specialty was 0 to 5. My interest was the early years. So yeah, really interesting how that played out and how that became like a bit of a platform for what I'm doing now. So this all kind of like, you know, accumulated actually the childminding in quite a lot of stress though. I loved my role, but then there's pressure from the government, there's pressure from nurseries locally, there's pressure from yourself as a single mum, and there's, you know, I was employing apprenticeships as well, so there was pressure being an employer also. And so the journey could have been better and was great at times, but it was really difficult. But the children just, you know, they were amazing, and we still keep in contact and we miss the children for sure. And it's really nice because some of them are going 18 now. I'm seeing that, or some are older. But yeah, it's just one of those milestones, isn't it, that you just like, oh my goodness me, that's crazy. So yeah, really important time. I mean, these were the kids that I had when they were 4 or 3. So, you know, this is how it is. And so the journey went on, and my daughter went to high school, of course, and this was interesting because just as she was about to do her GCSEs, COVID happened. But when she went to high school, I did end my childminding. I closed the business and went into holistics full time. Bought a business in holistics and started off in that way. So yeah, really interesting time for her as she took her GCSEs like in the most strangest of ways. Nobody could predict those years, but for me it gave me a massive time for a deep dive, time for a massive spiritual awakening, awareness, all of the things. I was already clearly on the path, just didn't quite know it. I was already a Reiki Master, but didn't quite understand the depths of what I was here to do, what my purpose is even, although it's evolved. So that's a little bit about the background. So COVID hit, I found an amazing ascension school. Realised through finding Nikki on a trauma summit that I had trauma of being an empath in this world and helping everybody, you know, from being a very young age, and basically putting their needs first before mine for 40 odd years. It was just a thing, and I didn't realise at the time, I didn't know any better. So I would describe myself as the wounded healer, and a lot of people are wounded holistic or Reiki practitioner or wounded healer, and probably a few of you resonate with that. I had my own shizzle to sort, 100%, but I didn't realise that. So I was giving, and sometimes that's like a bypass, sometimes that's just the way it is, giving, and thinking I was doing the work, thinking I was doing the work and on the journey until I was, and then I realised I never was. And isn't that often the case? So I really stand for that now. I really try to bring that in for people who are in between, let's call it that, where you think you're doing it, but actually you know there's something missing. You're still sitting in judgment, you're still sitting in comparison, you're still sitting in quite a large amount of fear and lower vibrational energy. And I'm not saying that it does not come up for me. It definitely does. The reason I am on here today after so long of paying for YouTube is because I had visibility fears, had massive fears of being visible in a little group when I'm looking after my people and we are going on the journey. Perfectly fine, not a problem. Take it out to the wider world, a little bit scary, and so it is. But what I have also learned is you don't get anywhere until you face your fears. So I've had to face my fears here, and what I propose for this group, this is why I'm here, is there was a couple of things that came with this mass awakening. I found the Ascension portal, and Nikki's work is exceptional, and also, you know, she's going to open doors to that work soon, so there'll be shares for that. I have stayed committed to that journey, which is the only journey that I've really ever stayed fully committed to for, we are talking 3 years now, and I have fully stayed committed and on that pathway as she recommends. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm a little bit of a monkey where that's concerned. I will be my own worst enemy, and I appreciate that, and that is just not out of, I am just being transparent here. That is something I have to watch out for, because yeah, is it a patience thing? Potentially. We'll have a little look at that. So in the process of all that, my mum's health deteriorated rather rapidly. She got diagnosed with lung disease. I can't quite remember the year, but it was, you see years just go. Isn't that good though, that that's not etched on my brain? Anyway, it was a 5-year journey for her, and she passed 2.5 years ago. I don't even know what year it is, to be fair. So you do the maths. It was a very difficult time. I also realised in the trauma process that I was a codependent. We had a codependent relationship, which meant that when she died, I had to completely find myself again and who I was. And I looked a little bit to the, you know, the Reiki. I looked a little bit to the quantum healing that I've taken, the yoga training, all of the things, like, to find my identity. And really what I had to look at was the ego. I had to look at the ego personality and heal those wounds. And I know I'm not alone here. I know I'm not alone here, which also makes me, it made me feel a lot better, because I was in groups where I was supported of doing this work, and I would not have done this work without support. Nobody can. I don't believe anybody can have a full reinvention of themselves without support from others. And also, like the mass awakening that's going on the planet, again, don't try to do this on your own. It really isn't fun. I am one to try to do many things on my own. I'm very independent, but I can't do that on my own. No way. So there's lots of things that, you know, can be in place. Like I say, Nikki's going to come a bit more public about her Ascension portal, and I will post what's going on there. I also follow quite a few people who have influenced and supported me in the work also, which I'll talk about in time. But the biggest thing that came out of my mum's illness was I bought a Healy. I bought a Healy in 2000, I think. As soon as it came on the market, pretty much it was in my hand. I bought it with the intention of supporting my mum. It wasn't going to at that stage. She was at the end of life and didn't actually last much longer than that. So because of this, I kept it in the box and didn't really do much with it, which was really silly, but never mind, we all learn. So I then got out the Healy at some point and decided to heal myself, decided to look at what I needed, because that was a great idea. I was struggling, I was suffering, going through grief, trying to find my identity, trying to find like my path as well. It was just like a lot, and I never was using the tool, so got the tool out and then had a really big deep dive and kind of tied it all in with the work I was doing with the Ascension, with the work I was doing with, you know, spiritual groups, and did cacao training also, which I have got a beautiful cup of cacao here waiting, but it was rather hot. So and it is now yeah. Anyone who's had ceremonial cacao knows it's a little bit solid on top, but it'll be fine. We're bringing in the cacao in a minute. This beautiful cup is made by my friend Alison Williams, and she does gorgeous pottery. So if anybody needs any bespoke cups, then yeah, reach out. Really gorgeous. So cacao is a heart healer. She's a plant-based medicine from Mayans, Aztecs, from, you know, eons, coming all the way through the lineage, bringing all her wisdom, all her knowledge with her, and started to heal my heart along with the other work. It was a process.